coming on?
Hi, Instagram.
Okay, got it. Done.
We're all on.
All right.
Hello. So you're here with Rosa and Marcia, and as you can see, we have two special guests today. But before we get to them, we just want to remind you, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just click Rosa and Marcia, Marcia. We go live on all platforms at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So we have a special show for you today where we're going to talk about how to find your passion and how to turn your passion into your business. So let's go ahead and get started. If you guys want to start introducing yourselves to our audience.
Sure. Go for it.
All right. So I'm Suzette, and I've been working and serving survivors of human trafficking, also alongside working along him and just being able to build up our businesses and trying to just make it in today's world and trying to do it as best as we can to really not get in the craze of it all, but just do something that we found fulfilling.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, my name is Geo Valdez. I'm a fitness professional. Been doing it for about 5 years, and thank God for her because she's been able to help me, with a lot of the organizational aspect of it. But I just try to be a life changer as best as I can, and the passion that I have for fitness and health, just trying to help people, get to those goals that they have, right, and being the best version of who they are. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and just to say, how I met this wonderful couple because they are amazing. So they are good friends with my son, Gabriel, who's in LA. So Gabriel, if you're watching, say hi, Geo.
You better be watching. You better be watching.
So they're a wonderful couple, and I thought they were so dynamic because every time they spoke to my son and every time I would hear about them, they're always talking about being entrepreneur, how they're working hard, how hustling to make money and to make ends meet, but still holding up with the purpose of God in their life.
Amen.
So we have some questions because we want you guys to really get some really good ideas and learn from them because they've been through it and they're still going through it. We're all going through it. So we have so much to learn from each other. Now, Marcia, ask the first question.
Okay, so the main question, because I know a lot of our viewers, they struggle with what is my passion? Yes, I want to help people. I want to live my Christian faith. I want to do what God is telling me to do, but I don't know what he's telling me to do. So first of all, tell us about your journeys on how you found your passion, and then we'll get to how do you turn your passion into your business. So how did you find your passions?
Well, I'll go first. My passion has always been sports and fitness, and just from as far back as I could remember. So finding my passion wasn't necessarily hard. What was hard for me was figuring out a way to monetize it. Right? Because we all have things that we enjoy, that we like, but we just might not even know that there's a job opportunity for us just because we've never heard of it or we're just naive to the fact that there's something available to us. So with me, it was always like, how can I monetize being an athlete or being someone that's in the fitness realm and doing it in a way where I feel fulfilled, where I feel passionate, where I don't mind waking up early in the morning to train a client at 5:30 or 6:30 or whatever the case may be.
Yes. Hustling.
Hustling.
Yeah.
So that was, it was a struggle for me initially, but through a lot of prayer, a lot of putting the right people around me, divine connections.
Yes.
That's what helped me find my way.
Yeah, we're always talking about getting a mentor and having a mentor, having people around us to really build us up and guide us in the right direction. That's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Geo played basketball in high school and then in college. So this is obviously God gave you a gift, and now he's turning that gift into a business. So tell us about finding your passion.
So my passion was more just helping women. I really wanted to help and empower women, but specifically women that had gone through something and they felt like their story minimized their ability to do something in their lives. And sometimes we get caught up in the fact that, well, you don't know my past or you don't know what I went through. We all have a past. We all went through something. That's what really just assists us to kind of help others. And I think what really assisted us to find our passion as well was if we made a ton of money from it or if we just were getting by, what really fulfilled us was the fact that we were helping people. And, there were a ton of people that we knew, family, friends, that we'd say, you know what, this isn't going to be a profit, but we just want to see their lives better. And at least for me, when I started helping survivors of human trafficking, nonprofits, there's no profit.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're not
No
in it
profit.
for the profit. You're not in it to kill it in the game and really make a ton of money. You're just in it to really see people's lives change. And if you're blessed along the way, great. If you're not, God's going to provide anyways. He's always come through. But it was really just a way of, like he said, how do we monetize what we were already good at and what we enjoyed doing? And I got hired from going to volunteer. That's how it worked out for me. I had worked at my church. Then I was studying. I was working with him with the businesses. And I went into volunteer one day, and God actually was the one behind the scenes working it out. And my boss called me and said, in my quiet time, God said, we have to hire you. I said, okay, cool.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
and see how mentioned because she had mentioned before the turn on the cameras, you already had the plan written out. You had a vision, you had a dream that God had put the seed in you.
Yeah.
And you wrote it all down.
Yeah, so I had the vision of a program that I felt God was leading me to set up for survivors of human trafficking. At that time, I did not really know a lot about human trafficking. I didn't know the right people in our city that were even working with human trafficking. I just knew there was a need and somebody had to do something about it. So if nobody else was showing up, I was going to show up.
Right.
And I wrote it down. I created my plan. I called it my 10-year plan. It happened in 3. God speeded up a little bit, but you know, it's not so much about, well, I know I want to do this, but it'll eventually happen. We also have to kind of put the work in.
Right.
So I had it all written down. I wrote it into a notebook and it became a reality. And that was the whole purpose. God gave me the vision, but I also had to put the work. I had to educate myself in what it was to do human trafficking, what the need was. I had to serve. That's another thing too. People always want to make the money and make it big top, you know, on top of everything, but they're not really willing to just humble themselves and serve for it.
Right.
And that's also another thing too, that God will always honor you for what you're doing. It's just a matter of being able to be open to God opening up the opportunity, even if it doesn't look like the opportunity you were going for.
And when you're serving, did you find that you were getting a lot of recognition, like a lot of pats in the back, so people were like saying, "Great job"?
I don't think we ever really.
You don't see that, right?
I mean, people have. I mean, I don't know if this is on the topic of it, but just really quick. Sometimes service is dirty. Right. And people, they see the outside looking in, they think, oh wow, it's glamorous, but it's really dirty. Like you really got to get your hands dirty. And there'll be times where you might even expect a pat on the back, but you won't get it. And it's okay because God's giving it to you.
Thanks.
And that's all that matters.
You do it for God.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about what you're saying is you have, and we've talked about this on our show before, is position yourself so that you can be in the right place at the right time when God needs to use you. So you could have had this plan, right? Your 10-year plan, like I'm going to help women and men with the human trafficking issue and all of this. And you could have just stayed in some other job in a cubicle doing something totally different, just saying, okay, this is going to happen one day. Let me go volunteer here. And then 6 months later, volunteer somewhere else. But you didn't do that. It was kind of like God was positioning you, or you were positioning yourself to be in the right place at the right time, pay your dues, right? Work at Glory House and really start learning how this world works and making those connections for a few years. And then God said, okay, now I'm ready for you to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's important too, just to be in the right position.
Yeah. And for us, I'll say that I think every single open door we've had has been kind of, if it wasn't God, it wouldn't have happened. It really, it's been one thing after another. And when we were kind of discussing about, different things that we'd share, and I asked him, I said, what was one thing that you would suggest? And I'll let him elaborate on that a little bit more. But he said, don't be scared to fail. And that was really our thing.
Right.
We might not succeed at it.
Right.
I didn't know working at Glory House if it was going to be 6 months, because right off the bat, they said, we're taking a step of faith. We don't know what God's going to provide. We don't know who's going to come through to help out the organization. And even if they wouldn't have paid me a dime, I still would have done it, because there was a need and somebody had to step in and do it. But it's really that God's going to open up the doors when he sees, I think it also has to do with our heart. When he sees that you're willing to just step out and say, whatever happens, happens, and I think our success has been the fact that even though we haven't seen full golden stars across the board every single time, we still stepped out there. And if it didn't work out, we learned from it, you know, and that's really what built us up to be able to say, God's got us.
Right,
You know?
right. Amen.
Yeah.
So tell us, Gio, about you and that process of turning your love for basketball and fitness into a business.
Impact. That's all it is for me. I've always had it in my heart from a very young age to be an impactful person. I don't just want to go by my life and enjoy the fruits of my labor and just use it to myself and benefit myself. I've always wanted to have a positive impact around not only my family, but society in general. So when I was kind of transitioning away from, at that point in time, from maybe not playing professionally, I wanted to see what could I do to have a positive impact. And initially I got into coaching. And I didn't have the patience for it back then. I was
it little kids?
Yeah, it was with younger kids between the ages. I think it was like elementary and middle school. I mean, I was very young at that point in time, but I had always prayed for patience, right? You've ever heard if you pray for patience, you have opportunity.
Challenge more.
Yeah. So I had a wonderful opportunity to work for the Miami Heat for 4 years.
Wow.
And I had to manage 4,000 employees.
Wow.
And through that, I learned tons of patience.
Wow.
Tons of patience. And eventually, out of those 4 years, I was in a ditch where a lot of people are severely overworked and very underpaid. And I knew that was not for me anymore. And the lifestyle I was living was not one that was for God anymore. So I said, you know what? I'm going to chase the dream that He's put in me to be a fitness professional and help as many people, not just athletes. That's my niche, but help as many people as possible live a life that they can feel comfortable about who they are, especially in God. Like sometimes I'm even training my clients and I'll throw a little Bible verse in there and they might not have a relationship with God, but they'll be like, that's good, Gio. So I just try to give them a little bit of God and change their life day by day. And that kind of brought me to that. I actually, when I had discussed this opportunity with my father, that same weekend, the following day, we had a guest speaker at church. And this guest speaker, he called up anyone that was an aspiring business owner. And my dad looked at me, he's like, it's your time. So when we went up, he spoke over my life. I did not expect that. He prophesied that I would, the influence is greater than money. And remember, I mentioned impact.
Yes.
And that I would be a person that people would want to train with. Wow. And not only has that been training with physically, but it's also been spiritually as well. So that was how I came about. And I've been 5 years into it. And it's been a tremendous blessing for many people, but also for me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And I have to say, you know, I'm grateful for you because when Gabriel, he impacted my son. And Gabriel started coming to Metro Life, our church. And my son didn't really know a lot of people, but my son friended him. And he started making my son get up at 5:30 in the morning. And my son was like, how am I going to do this? I'm like, you can do it. And my son needed that motivation. And I'm so grateful for him because my son's life changed. He started seeing things differently. And what I couldn't tell him, because, you know, moms can talk all you want. They won't listen to their, I won't listen. But when you were speaking it, I was like, thank God, somebody's telling him what he needs to do. So I'm really grateful for that. He made a great impact on my son.
And we have a comment. I'm going to get closer to read it.
We have a comment.
Okay, so Blessed Catholic Mama says, can you talk about ordering your life with God and how you do that? That's been an obvious help in my life, but I'm still praying for that organization of my life. God knows what we need. So organization.
How do you guys stay with so much going on?
You want to touch on that first?
I think it's pretty much your priorities. We always made, even though life gets crazy and there's different seasons, we always knew what our priorities were. So we said, okay, we serve at a young adults ministry, so every Monday night we're going to be there. And especially in his line of work, mine, it's 24/7. You can get a call at 2 a.m, just like you can get a call at 1 p.m. But for him, it's clients and it's when they're available. And a lot of clients work during the day, so it's really in the evening that they're able to train. But he said, no, Monday nights, we're going to church, we're going to serve. And Sundays sometimes gets a little crazy, but we try our best to be there every Sunday because it's the same thing. Church for us was a priority. We met at church. So I think one of the things that really was able to show our characters to each other was the fact that we were both serving the same ministry, and we were both able to see our hearts behind our service, which made a huge impact in who we were. And we had that same foundation where we knew it's really easy when you both know if all hell breaks loose, God's going to come through, versus all hell's breaking loose, what are we going to do?
Yes, totally different mentality.
It's very different to respond to that and to kind of just say, we've done the best we can. The rest is in God's hands.
Right.
But when it comes to organizing, it's really your priorities. If church is a priority, if serving is a priority, if, you have, my job is 9 to 5, but I have a family, so I got to dedicate time to my family too. We always made sure that it was never going to become a huge tornado of things we had to accomplish, and then everything else was neglected. We tried to balance it, and sometimes you're going to drop the ball on some things. There's going to be sometimes that, you have a client and a family dinner, and then you kind of got to balance out what's going to happen. But, you try the best you can, and you really just, again, God's going to open up the doors. So, you are already working towards it. The best you can do is just use the gifts God's given you and continue to better yourself. And then as you better yourself, allow yourself to grow into that next season.
And that was
really good.
But I would say that first and foremost, God is a God of order, right? And since He's a God of order, He honors when there's order. So I've always made it I'm very forgetful. I have a good long-term memory, but when it comes to short-term, I'm like Dory from Finding Nemo. So I have a calendar on my phone, whether it's a hangout with family or friends or my clients, everything is on that calendar. Just because I know I know my weaknesses, so I make sure I make it a strength by doing that. God honors order, so I want you to remember that. In addition to that, the great benefit of being a business owner is that I determine my schedule. So if there's something that comes up, if a family member gets ill, whatever the case may be, I've developed so much rapport with my clients. That's another thing. Build rapport with those that you work with. Whether you might not get along with them, just build rapport with them, because you never know when you might need them. But I try my best to build rapport with them so that if something does come up, I can tell them, listen, this came up. I know we have a cancellation policy, but can we move this to another time? And if it's someone that's more open, then it's easy. But if someone that's a little bit more, it's hard to move them around, I might, add a little perk for them. But God's a God of order. He honors order. So if you just make it an effort, to schedule things, even in the mornings when I drive to work, that's my time with God. I spend an hour just worshiping, praying with my eyes open. But I make a habit of doing that because God, He honors it. And we've seen it in our lives.
Yes. And we've also talked, I don't know if you remember the other day, we talked about the order that God places things in. God always comes first. And then, your spouse and your children and your family. So we've talked about that too. And just, really, when you know Jesus, the Bible, the order that He wants to put things in, and just stay true to that order. I mean, He knows better than we do about what should come first and second. And prayer is always so important. And I know the two of you have talked earlier about how hard you guys work and the amount of hours. You were saying you worked the other day from 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. And it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hustle. It's not easy, right? To start your own business. So tell us a little bit about things that you've had to sacrifice because you've started the house, the safe house and everything, and you started your own business. So what have you had to sacrifice? Those little moments where you're saying client or family or, things like that, or things you've had to give up.
Well, definitely.
Sleep?
Yes.
Yes. That's a big one.
I used to be that kid that would sleep in on the weekends, and my mom would be like, come on, it's time to get up. But now I cannot wake up past any later than 7 a.m. If I wake up, it's because the night before I maybe had 2 or 3 hours. And I know it's unhealthy, but I've sacrificed a lot of that just to further build, if you will, my kingdom, right? And I think of it as I'm the king, she's the queen, and we have to build our kingdom. So that later on in life, But so that's one. In addition to that, I would say time with friends. Your social life kind of takes and you have to be okay with that. That's hard, but you have to be okay with telling your friends, listen, I can't this weekend. Let's schedule it with that calendar, right?
Yes.
A month from, so that way you prioritize them. You make them feel like they are important because they are. You value that relationship, and we're all about that. But time with friends, family, I try my best not to take away from them because I am who I am because of them. But definitely sleep is one. Definitely your social life is another. At least for me. So
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it goes the same for both of us on that one. You know, we know that there's the right people that God's brought alongside us. So our family, if we had to miss something, which I think has been very rarely, we've missed something due to work, they've understood, they know. And when it comes to friends, they understand. They might be a little frustrated we didn't make it to a birthday dinner, but they know the reason behind it. They know that we're there, good times, bad times, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know? So it's just really a matter of, like he said, we've sacrificed a lot of sleep. We've both been students while we've been working. So that's another thing too.
Yeah.
You throw school in there.
full-time student.
You know, you have to do a lot of just juggling and trying to make it work and figure it out. But then there's some times that, you know, we'll say we just can't, you know, if there's a dinner, or because also when it comes to businesses and stuff, we also have to be very wise when it comes to money and budget and stuff like that. So we know we have a client versus a birthday dinner, you know, we have to sometimes give up one for the other, and it stinks because you want to be there for your friends as well, but you also have to know that you have to be good stewards of what you've been given. So it's not the easiest at all times, but as long as we kind of have a plan, it's a little easier to stick to it. And I think that's what's really helped us. Yes, that order that we know, hey, you know, like this is our goal. This is what we have to do. And sometimes we might deviate from the plan, and that's okay. But just knowing that, you know, we kind of keep it in line. And now, like he said, he's his own boss. And I'm blessed enough to work at a Christian organization. So our staff meetings are prayer meetings. So it's different. But I know I'm sure many of our viewers are not working in a Christian environment. And that's not the easiest either. So it's also knowing your foundation is very important. If you know who you are and you know your relationship with God, that makes a big difference. You know, he says he prays every morning on the way to work, you know, making sure that you start your day at least praying. You know, you might not have time to do a worship session, but at least pray in the morning, and know that as long as you keep your foundation, you keep God first, even if you're not in a Christian environment, God's going to honor that because God's there with you. So that makes a big difference too. It's not the easiest working in corporate America. We've both done that. And it gets busy and it gets hard, and your views might not always be respected. That's okay. That's why there's opinions. Everybody's going to have one.
Right.
But just know who you are and know what you stand for and know what your goals are. As long as you keep that focus, it helps.
Now, I want to ask a question because you guys are such a cute couple. You're a power couple. So you were saying that you help Geo sometimes with the administrative part of his business. Tell me about working together, because one thing is, you know, you go to work and he goes to work and then you guys see each other at night. Another thing is when you have to work together in a business. So how do you do that and still keep your sanity?
All right, so
stay in your lane.
That's but she's telling the truth. So we try our best to stay in our lanes, right? The good thing about being in a relationship is that I'm weak in certain areas and she's strong in others, and vice versa. So if I'm struggling with administrative work, she takes over that, and I relinquish it because I understand that we're going to be made better because of it, right? When I try to overstep and try to do it all by myself, I fatigue myself, which will in turn affect our relationship. Because I might make her feel less than, and it might affect my mood, which will cause issues. And it has in the past, which is why it's never going to be something that you're going to completely master. You're going to continually have to work on it. So same thing with her. I'm a little more apprehensive because her line of work, it's more women that have dealt with men that have hurt them. So when they see a guy like myself, I just try to not overstep because I know that they have a bad view already of men. So it's me just being there for support and letting her lead. And that's okay too. That doesn't mean I'm any less than of a man just because of it. It's just me letting her be, letting herself be a fruit for these women that need that. And them seeing me do that shows them, wow, I can have that in my life too.
That's why I
So-
admire.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful because that's why I admire the story of Deborah.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear in the Bible the story of Deborah. You don't hear about her husband, but she had an amazing husband.
Mhm.
And while she was out there judging and making decisions to try to make Israel prosper, you know, my man was supporting her 100%. You know,
Yeah.
and he was like a fire starter because when you start studying his name. I can't remember his name right now, but anyway, it means fire starter. He was like a firecracker under her,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
really pushing her to do what she did best, what God
Mhm.
was using her to do. And he wasn't not one bit intimidated,
Yeah.
you know, and it's funny how God doesn't really put the camera, the spotlight on him in the Bible, but really puts a spotlight on Deborah,
Mhm.
you know, and but he did exactly what God called him to do.
Mhm.
And Deborah was only successful because he supported her,
Yeah.
you know, and that's awesome what you're
Yeah.
doing. So I love to hear
Yeah,
that
yeah,
because
yeah.
we need more men like that. Yes.
Yeah.
And church is a great place to meet your mate.
Yes.
Come on,
Another
guys.
Don't
example.
go in there looking for a mate. That's a little intimidating sometimes.
Well, if we have just like a minute on it.
Yes, yes,
When
please.
Yes.
we first met, we
Yes.
could not stand each other.
No.
Yeah.
Tell
We
that
could not.
story.
Yeah.
So I'll tell it. So,
Say it.
right.
Oh,
So-
boy.
This version.
Yes. And I'll correct it.
The very first conversation we had, because I was that guy, I said I will never get married.
Yeah.
And she told me what?
I said it was a much longer conversation,
Yeah.
but he was basically saying how he was never going to get married. He was never going to deal with one crazy woman for the rest of his life. And I just chuckled and I said, I can't wait to meet the woman that puts you in your place and makes you get down on one knee so I can pat her on the back. Well, the joke was on me, obviously. I had no idea. But yeah, it was, like I mentioned before, we met because we just really saw each other's true qualities by serving, and we've both grown and come a very long way from the first time we met and from when we first started dating. But it was really just knowing when to say, hey, I need help, you know, and being okay with that. Because nowadays, and I'm all for it, you know, woman power and women really making themselves strong and standing up for what's right. But there's also gender roles that we need to respect and know there's a reason for them. It's okay to, there's strength and vulnerability. It's okay to say, I can't do this, I need help. And letting also somebody come alongside you and help you and build together.
Mhm.
Because in today's society, it's more of, I can do it all by myself.
Right.
And I get it. I was there. I was just as much as he was saying he was never going to get married. I was going to go be an attorney in New York and, you know, live my life. And I get it. It's easy to buy into that, but it's also really good when you finally meet somebody that you complement each other. Neither one of us are perfect. We have our flaws, but we know that whether it's been business or whatever adventure we've jumped on board with,
Mhm.
we've always had each other to also back each other up. And I think we're our biggest cheerleaders, no matter what. It might be the craziest plan or the craziest idea. We know that, you know, worst case, we're still there. We got it. So that's also been
Mhm.
a big factor. But yeah, he said he was never going to get married.
But then she said, "Look at this chocolate guy over here."
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, throughout the interview, what seems interesting to me is there's a lot of self-awareness and humility going on with both of you. It's kind of like, I know what my passion is. I'm going to now figure out how to turn that into my career. And then self-awareness as to what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, so you can move out of the way. If this is a weakness, I know it, move out of the way and let somebody else help me. And
Mhm.
kind of work as a team,
Yeah.
being
Yes.
humble enough to do that, which I think it is a big struggle for a lot of women today, because we are able to be independent and function in life and be on top of things and go through life very in a strong way. And then when a man comes along, it's kind of like, okay, now how do I fit him into my life in a way that, you know, you're not like telling him you're not needed.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
can do everything on my own.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think that it's like you said, you know, how do I fit him in? I think what really was cool was that we just fit. It just worked.
Mm.
And it fell into place because we weren't trying to one-up each other all the time. Like he said, you know, he knows that the population I work with, it's very vulnerable. And a lot of the reason why certain women feel like that is because they've been hurt in the past. And they allow themselves to be vulnerable, and that was taken advantage of. That doesn't necessarily mean that every single person is going to take advantage.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's knowing that like we said before with the businesses, it might fail. That's okay. You know, if it fails, it fails, and we'll get back up and try again. And that's also part of life. You get hurt, you fall, you stand back up, and you keep fighting. You know, at least for me, I tell my ladies all the time, you're still breathing, so you still have a purpose. If you weren't breathing, you'd be done. But you're breathing, so you're not done. You have to keep fighting. And the beauty of it is that it's not so much fighting physically, even though life does make you fight physically, and sometimes you have to hustle and you have to make something happen. But it's also knowing, like we've said, God's going to come through. So I've done the most I can. Yeah. If it doesn't work out, great. If it works out, great. And that's also what kind of makes it a little easier. There's no pressure of succeeding and making it happen. And, you know, I'm going to allow him to do this much, but, you know, this is my little wall. This is my fort. There is no wall. There's no fort because, you know, there's just two imperfect humans just trying to work it out and be better. And that's where it's really been able to function.
Well, I would even venture to say that we can't even take the credit for that, for the self-awareness and for the humility, because we have terrific parents.
Yeah.
They're not perfect at all, but they really raised us. They made sure to put us, I mean, the love that they have for us to put us before their own needs is, I mean, they're amazing. Her parents are awesome. My parents are terrific. They made sure that we were in church. They made sure that we read our Bible. They made sure that they were pouring into us. Our church family has always poured into us. I mean, I've been at Metro Life Church for coming on 15 years. She's been there almost 10.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always had people that correct us when we've needed to be corrected, even when we didn't like it and we wanted to be rebellious, and sometimes we were. Just making sure, again, that we have the right connections around us, and just allowing ourselves to be led by God led us to that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I wasn't always humble.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes people.
Neither one of us. Sorry. I mean, like both of us. Not him. Both.
Sometimes, crazy, baby. But sometimes people, they confuse humility with a low self-esteem. You can still be secure and confident in who you are and still have that humility to you. And it's okay to feel that. Sometimes you're going to feel less than I have. You know, there's been times, and I talk to her a lot about it. Sometimes I have the opportunity to go up in church and have a moment to speak. And after, I ask her, how did I do? And sometimes I have to remind myself, it's not about how I do. It's about what did I bring to the table for those people, the impact that I'm trying to, make. So humility is something that you're always going to be, you have to work on it, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all human. Yes. But, man, my parents, her parents, our church leaders, God, I mean, what can we do without him, right? But that's really where I wouldn't take any other credit for that.
Yeah, you have a big support system around you and people who are guiding you.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that's important too. So how can people find you, first of all, if they want fitness help? And even those online. So can you do people who are outside of Miami?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So I'm on Instagram as GEO, so Geo Valdez _ at the end. Important.
Yeah.
On Instagram, you can reach out to me via there. I'm also on Twitter. It's Geo Valdez 13, the number 13, not the word. And I'm on there right now. I'm also on Facebook. You can just search for me also. My full name, Giovanni Valdez. And I offer one-on-one coaching, semi-private training, which is 2 to 4 people. And then in addition to that, online training. So if you're not in Miami or South Florida area, we can do that as well if you just reach out to me through those social media platforms as well. So definitely,
great. Yeah. And then if people want to help out, maybe they want to volunteer or
make a
donate.
donation.
Yeah, just Glory House of Miami. We have our website, gloryhouseofmiami.org. We're on social media, and pretty much you can just go through our website. Everything is right there. All of our information's on there. I'm on social media too, but page you won't really see much other than a lot of us.
This guy.
But yeah, it's just Glory House of Miami, and you'll be able to find out information about serving, about becoming a partner with us, about just finding out more about what we do and what the need really is, because most people don't realize it's such a crazy need everywhere in the world. It's not just on third world countries. So, it's something that it's out there, and we're just willing to help.
Okay, great. So do you want to end us with a prayer?
Yes, let's
Yes,
pray.
let's do it.
All right, let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Lord, for our guest. Thank you for Geo and Suzie for taking time out of their schedule, Lord God, and blessing the people, Lord, with this message. I pray that this message and this show will get out to the right people, will touch the hearts, and will teach our young people that anything is possible with you, that we can find our purpose and we can find our passion and we can prosper and be at peace and have joy. We can have it all, Lord God, if we follow you. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. Bless us this week and bless our audience, Lord God. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
All right. So again, you can catch us every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just go to Rosa and Marcia, Marcia, and we'll see you there. God bless you all.
God bless. Bye,
Bye.
guys. Okay, gotta turn it little by little. One by
turn
one.
them all off.
Yeah. One by one. They were asking questions.